Today, more on the horrific earthquake that struck Haiti 9 years ago, and a look at the hot zones in the United States and the heroic men and women of the Thin Blue Line.
This is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
It's Tuesday, 15th of January, and 9 years ago, I was heading ashore with the U.S. Marines to the island of Haiti, which had been all but destroyed by a 7.0 earthquake a couple days earlier. People were getting increasingly desperate as they languished in the tropical heat without food or clean water, desperately trying to reach friends and loved ones who were trapped beneath the rubble of their homes and businesses. People began painting on their crumbled houses signs begging for help, but the incredible shortage of heavy machinery and fuel meant nobody would be coming. The Marines began by flying recon missions over the island, and I got to go along on a few of them. The USS Baton sailed into Haitian waters about 48 hours after leaving port in North Carolina, with over 2,000 souls on board. The time in transit wasn't wasted. Equipment was checked, last-minute training done, and the ship even topped up on fuel while underway. But everyone here was anxious to get on with the real mission of bringing aid to the victims of last week's earthquake. While the ship was almost 100 miles offshore, Marine helicopter pilots launched on a mission to overfly the devastation and find suitable sites to land troops. Mission commanders here say the Marines will be hitting the beach very soon, and great care is being taken to ensure that when they do, it'll be clear that we're not here as occupiers, but to bring relief to those who need it most on behalf of the American people. And from the looks of things on the ground, help can't come too soon. Chuck Holton, embedded with the U.S. Marines off the coast of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. At first, the Marines' mission was to determine the areas of greatest need and then identify landing zones where they could put their massive CH-53 helicopters down safely. But things wouldn't go as easily as they hoped when they brought their main force ashore in Léogâne. The 4 U.S. Navy ships dispatched to assist with the relief efforts in Haiti arrived off the coast of that country late Monday. But with the port facilities out of commission in Port-au-Prince, they first had to identify a suitable staging area on land where ships could offload their heavy equipment and supplies. After a low-level flyover found a Christian mission compound with a suitable beach on the outskirts of the capital, Captain Thomas Negus, the Commodore of the Amphibious Ready Group, contacted the caretaker.
I tracked down the owner of the land and I explained the situation and told him that of the requirement to move things across the beach for relief supplies. And I asked him his permission if we could use his compound.
Soon afterward, landing craft were heading for the beach. The Marines and sailors are just now coming ashore and establishing a beachhead here in Port-au-Prince. They're bringing vehicles and supplies in, and they're hoping to be able to get them out to the Haitian people as soon as possible.
We're here today to try to bring some aid to this area. Most of the efforts so far, it seems, have been on Port-au-Prince. We were hoping to be able to start some distribution points this afternoon, trying to work together so that we can do a coordinated effort and do the most good in the most places.
Crowds of curious Haitians, many of whom had eaten very little since the earthquake, flocked to watch the Marines and sailors come ashore.
Yeah, when we see the American come, we gotta hope that they're gonna do something for us to improve our situation.
This sailor, working as a translator, grew up in a village near here and hopes to get word that her family in the area is okay.
When I first got on the beach, it was heartbreaking because the first thing they said to me was, Haiti's gone. There's no more Haiti.
Shortly after sunrise the next morning, a series of aftershocks underscored the urgency of the operation, and the sailors redoubled their efforts to get the aid ashore.
I imagine that this is the first of many beaches that we will be establishing to service a very large area.
God will provide. Even right now, our hearts are broken, but we know God can rescue our heart.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, in Haiti with the U.S. Marines. It didn't take long for the Marines to realize the people of Léogâne were so desperate that even the weapons the Marines carried wouldn't stop the masses from swarming in and just taking the aid before it could even be properly distributed. That's why the Marines eventually gave their aid to the UN troops, because the Marines' rules of engagement wouldn't allow them to use violence to stop the mob from looting their stores. But the UN troops, who were primarily from French-speaking countries in Africa and a few from Brazil, were able to. The UN troops were known among the Haitians to be corrupt and very liable to resort to violence. Okay, let's move on. Tomorrow, I'm going to air an awesome interview I got with my good friend Mike Wood. He's a law enforcement expert from Sacramento, California. In the interview, we discuss the growing trend being seen around the country of police being punished for doing their jobs, especially when it comes to taking down a violent felon. In 2015, the Obama administration moved to ban police forces from using modern sporting weapons like the M4 or the AR platform rifles. And more recently, last week in New Hampshire, lawmakers introduced a bill that would revoke an officer's authorization to use deadly force in necessary situations. I mean, seriously? About the time of the Obama declaration, I went out and interviewed a whole bunch of cops about the prejudice they feel these days when they go to work. Listen to what they had to say.
We always try to use the least amount of force. It's good versus evil, right? If you want to go fight with the cops, that's your choice. But when I was growing up, you just don't do that.
What this last year has brought out is a political environment and a media environment that wants to believe that the police were wrong before any facts come out.
For being chopped off at the head right there for any mistake because of the spin that media has put on law enforcement.
The police crack down on these mostly peaceful protests.
The responsibility to follow the laws and respect and obey law enforcement is built into democracy at the front end. Now, obviously, we can undermine that by being bad cops, and nobody wants that. But the fact that the police have a legitimate right to go about their business and, root out crime and stop criminals and all that sort of stuff, that's where I really think some things are lost.
And I tell people, we didn't ask to come into your house. You call us to resolve the issue, and if someone breaks the law, we have to take them.
We've got to protect ourselves. So if this person decides they're going to resist to whatever level, especially if it involves a weapon, we've got to be able to deal with that and not hesitate.
It's going to be very difficult. You're going to be second-guessing yourself. You're going to be thinking about what national leaders, what political leaders are going to be saying, even if you're justified within your policy and your guidelines for your agency.
I think that when you have police violence that terrorizes communities, that doesn't show the respect that you're supposed to have from protecting people in your authority, that can feel also terrorizing.
So it creates an environment for officers where sometimes they may hesitate, they may be afraid to do their job, they may be concerned that if they do what they should do, that they could be indicted.
I think that there's a real issue with administration backing up law enforcement officers, and I think that there's a very poor understanding by the public of the situational decision-making that law enforcement officers have to make.
City Council, they actually introduced a bill where they actually cursing at the police is not a crime. And seeing what's happened over Ferguson and all the different demonstrations, a lot of people are second guessing that, is this what I really want to do for a career now?
I've made it very clear that I worked with the police and instructed them to do everything that they could to make sure that the protesters were able to exercise their right to free speech. We also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well.
But at the end of the day, it's a risky job.
We don't have an opportunity to FaceTime anybody on a call for service. It's get out of the car, go find out what happened, talk to people, engage them, get facts from them.
I have thousands of encounters with civilians where nobody was injured and there was no threat to anybody's safety because everybody complied, everybody was professional, and everybody was polite.
In 1988, I remember the guys who had 30 years on, getting ready to retire, telling us we'd hate to be starting now. Things have changed. It's all different, but I think I understand what they were saying now.
Hey, the cops pull you over, you don't have a right to say, well, that cop is not legitimate, I'm not going to stop today and take off. You do. You have to pull over and you have to obey lawful commands.
You know, after a while, cops are just going to say, I'm out, I'm done.
It's not worth having to try to explain yourself because people don't feel like they have the administration's backing or they're concerned of what the press is going to do with it.
Unfortunately, media gets a hold of that stuff based on cell phones, based on social media, based on criminals that give the improper, wrong information to the media, and the media goes with it.
We are the face of the government, and 9 times out of 10, we're the only one-on-one interaction you're going to see.
And I can't tell you how many cops in casual conversation joking say, you know, what we ought to do is just take a couple of weeks off. You don't want us anymore? Let's take a couple of weeks off and go to the house and see how things work out for you. And I'm not here to be your parent. I'm here to enforce the laws of the state.
Police are more professional, better trained, better equipped, better informed than they've ever been. You know, the police forces we have out there in the community today are excellent, and the community should be proud to have them and trustful of them. But unfortunately, we have a lot in the political and the media and the activist movement that just want to condemn the police every chance they get.
Well, thanks for watching. That's all we've got for today, folks. I just want you to know how much I appreciate what you're doing by listening and sharing this with your friends. So go to patreon.com/hotzone and subscribe. It's only $3 a month, and we'll take that money and we'll go do great things for people that are having their worst day around the world. So do me a favor and go subscribe. Check back again tomorrow morning. I'm Chuck Holton. You'll be in for another great episode on The Hot Zone.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.